Hello, everyone. Heather Holmes here with KTVU Fox 2 News in the San Francisco Bay Area. And joining me this afternoon is prominent actor Daniel Wu. Daniel, really appreciate you being here. You're here to talk about something that is really troublesome and something that really hits home for you, and that is an increase in violent crime in Oakland's Chinatown.
Right. Yeah, there's been a big rise of this problem in the Bay Area, but it's actually happening all across the country. There's a two-pronged problem here. There is our Asian community, our vulnerable people in our community, elderly, women are being targeted as easy victims to attack. But then there's also the level, there's a level of racism that's happening as well. And we're being attacked as this rhetoric related to the pandemic, being blamed for coronavirus and things like that. So we're being verbally attacked, bullied, kids are being bullied at school, neighbors are harassing other neighbors, things like that are also happening in the Bay Area as well. And it's just very surprising to me because I grew up here. I know this is a very diverse community, and I know we're better than that, but it's happening to a very large scale here. And so when this incident in Oakland happened, it's actually connected to a larger series of incidents where, first of all, a man in San Francisco, Visha Ratanapakdi, was pushed to the ground and killed. And then days later, this elderly gentleman in Oakland, Chinatown, was pushed to the ground, as well as two others. And so there's obviously a massive increase in these kinds of incidents. And it's time for the Asian American community to stand up and say, hey, this is enough. We've had enough.
And how does all of this make you feel?
It feels terrible because I have a 91-year-old father, you know, and the thought of him walking down the street and suddenly someone pushing him to the ground and then dying that way, you know, someone who worked so hard to get to this country, and then once they got here, they worked so hard to build a great life for their family, the American dream, and then killed in that kind of fashion. That's just crazy to me. And so I just couldn't stand it anymore. And so I reached out to, you know, several of my colleagues in the entertainment industry and said, hey, we need to do something about this, not just on a local level, but on a national level, and get national attention to this. Because obviously the last New Year's year cycle was crazy. There was so much to talk about, but our issues were seemingly being swept under the carpet. And so we wanted to gather a bunch of people together and just say, hey, this is enough. We've had enough of this.
And I know that obviously you offered this large reward and a suspect was arrested. How instrumental do you believe that additional money was in making an arrest?
Well, according to the police, they had arrested this individual on other charges and then figured out that this was the guy that may be connected to this case. And there still hasn't been a conviction yet. But I think more importantly is that what happened with that reward is that it brought us a lot of attention to the issue, and not specifically this case necessarily. I mean, this case, of course, is very important. The three people were badly injured. But also to a more bigger degree is the issue in general that we need to look at. And to look at it, it's a complex issue. Like I said, it's socioeconomic as well as involving racial hate crimes.
Let me talk about steps, actions that you would like to be taken in Oakland's Chinatown. What is it that you believe will help people in that particular neighborhood feel a little bit safer?
Well, obviously, and today we had a press conference and the district attorney denounced all these acts of hate and has pledged that she will prosecute these in the future. So that's a step in the right direction. And then providing, you know, more security, especially right now because it's Chinese New Year. And this is when a lot of our elderly are out and they happen to have money on them and things like that. And so they're being targeted. And so to step up a little bit more patrols in the Chinatown area during this period. And so things like that can help, but legislation and an acknowledgement, just acknowledgement that this is a problem will be steps in the right direction. So I think, you know, it's not going to be a change right away, but small steps is how we get there.
We know that from covering incidents like this, we often hear from police that people in the Asian American community are a little reluctant to talk with police, to come forward. Your message to those in these neighborhoods about cooperating with police and their investigative work.
Yeah, that's part of the message as well. My involvement really is because, you know, I had a 20-year career in Hong Kong and then a career here in the United States. So a lot of these people in the community know me from my Chinese language films and from my English language stuff. And so being able to stand up and tell them, don't be afraid to report. And in fact, you should report it, because a lot of them don't report it because of language barrier, or they think that nothing's going to be done, so it's not worth the trouble. But the fact of the matter is that these issues, whether they're solved or not, need to be recorded and reported so that people understand that there is a larger issue going on here.
And Daniel, I know that I can speak for myself. And when I saw that video of what happened to that 91-year-old man, I mean, it just breaks your heart. The fact
Yeah.
that this seems to be unprovoked. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, that's the most disheartening thing about it, because these people did nothing, right? And they're just walking down the street minding their own business, and suddenly they're dead, you know, and that's just a horrific thing that needs to stop. I mean, we know crime has been on the rise because of the pandemic, because, you know, frankly speaking, people are in, you know, impoverished positions now, and so the crime is up. But in general, what you know, this has to stop, and we have to put an end to this. And the most vulnerable people are these elderly Asian people who, you know, walk the streets of Chinatown. They're out and about, and other races probably don't do that as much as ours. So we're being targeted as, and it, you know, whether it's racial or not, it's racial profiling, that's for sure. And so therefore, you know, we need to help and protect these people.
And Daniel, before I let you go, I just want to talk with you about the new police chief in Oakland. Obviously, he is committed to decreasing the number of attacks like this and really stepping up efforts by police to prevent them from happening. Your hope as this new police chief takes on his new role?
My hope is just really to take this matter seriously. They are, and today we at the press conference, they stated so. And so we're going to see if that's what they do. But I think on a bigger scale, again, the district attorney talking about prosecution and how they'll follow up on anything that is considered a hate crime is important to us, because it gives us confidence to be able to walk out on the streets again.
All right. Actor Daniel Wu, really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.